PENG. That is the best way to describe the brand new Alfa Romeo for 2021. A certified banger of a car. That new livery, Alfa Romeo, you've outdone yourselves. Well done, well done. GG. So far, the best car, the best looking car on the grid. And it's going to be hard to top that because it really does look beautiful from every angle you look at it. I was really afraid that Alfa Romeo was going to remain with the same exact livery because they have very much gone with that same style for like the last now, 3 years or 2 years at least, very much so. Changed it, added a little bit more red every time, every year. But this year, they've actually completely gone very different. Inverted the kind of colours where they are. The red is on the side pod this time, the white's on the engine cover, but the entire ensemble of the livery, you know, where the red lines are, how the sponsors are even placed on the nose cone, just makes it look like such an aggressive looking livery, despite obviously the base of the car, as with all the cars this year, is the exact same. The chassis is the same, but Alfa Romeo, out of all the cars so far we've seen, looks strikingly the most different so far, which is, I guess, surprising in a way, but also not, because Alfa Romeo unfortunately did have a lot to catch up from last season. They obviously lost a lot of performance from the Ferrari engine issue, but then themselves, the car itself also was just not as good as their competitors. They definitely did drop back last season, as we saw. So this season, they're looking to try and make a bit of a step up to kind of regain some of that time they made lost throughout the entirety of last year, and they've spent most of their tokens, it would seem, on the nose, the suspension, and new brake ducts and front wing for the entire car. So the whole front end from the front view looks very strikingly different and very lovely and aggressive. It just works so well with the livery. I'm actually shocked. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to wake up today and, you know, log on and see this livery. I didn't think we were going to be treated to such lovely. So let's talk about the actual car itself. And as I said, I'm actually surprised that this is the car out of all of them so far that I can actually do some actual genuine analysis and kind of look in and show you guys what's different. But like I said, maybe to be expected, because Alfa Romeo had a lot more to gain from this year, trying to catch up and get back in the midfield fight, which they weren't really in last season compared to a team like McLaren or AlphaTauri. But like AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, that's a mouthful, have opted to spend their tokens. Obviously, if you don't know, for this year, the regulations are frozen and the teams have to choose on a token-based system where they're going to spend their token to change stuff this year. It's a very new thing for this year just because of the whole pandemic and kind of, you know, wanting to save costs and not having to build a whole new car. So Alfa Romeo have opted, it looks like, for the nose cone, the entire front wing as well. It has actually changed on the kind of bottom plane, and then also the suspension and the brake ducts, especially compared to what they had last year. And the entire actual nose section is a lot thinner, which is a kind of common theme, obviously. We saw AlphaTauri also slim down their nose cone entire front wing structure, and Alfa Romeo have gone for that as well. The biggest massive change that screams out to you at the front end is the actual nose tip itself and the nose cone structure. Very different to what they had last year. So this year, they've got a bit more of an actual... We've seen capes before. You've seen on the Mercedes, the Red Bull, even the McLaren, that they have gone for these kind of snowplow capes underneath, behind the nose, to try and scoot in air from the front. But Alfa Romeo have kind of taken this a bit further and kind of actually started the cape at the nose edge, at the kind of, you know, front leading edge of the actual nose cone. So you can see from the side-on view, the actual cape is on top and kind of curls downwards then. So you're really getting that scooping nature of trying to get that fresh air injected in towards the barrel area. And then vice versa as well, on the actual edge going downwards as well, they've got a little flick going on to try and maybe hold the air and tunnel it through as it goes on either side of the nose cone. The actual nose bit itself, the kind of front bit, has changed a lot. They used to have kind of an older school kind of method that, you know, obviously having kind of two nostrils almost going through and kind of allowing air through, and also that's the way they got air through to the S duct as well. So they neatened that up and narrowed that up and just gone for a narrower section. Obviously what that does is opens up more airspace on either side of the nose cone in that very important region between the front wing flaps and the nose, where you can get the strongest vortices going from the front wing all the way directly to that barrel area, which obviously is very very important, because then that all gets moved around towards the side of the side pods and towards the rear end of the car, and then obviously makes its way eventually to the rear end of the car, where the diffuser does a lot of the work. In terms of the front wing, Alfa Romeo retain their very aggressive philosophy of having the front wing taper very sharply towards the end plates. They've kind of always stuck by that. It was a very aggressive one when they first introduced it back in, I think it was 2019, the first time they did it actually, and then they kind of made it a little bit less aggressive for 2020, and then kind of stuck with the same theme for this year, obviously to be expected, but they have actually changed the bottom plane of the front wing. You can see in that, again, that in very important region where the strongest vortices are made off the front wing down towards the barge area, they've now got an actual flick indented into the main plane, and then also the actual curvature of the leading edge is actually different on the outside, on obviously both sides of the front wing. So that profile change will be there to try and induce a better vortex on the inside plane and also on the outside as well, with the way it kind of tries to jet it around the tires, because that outside face of the front wing as you get towards the end plates, that's more about getting the air round the tire rather than trying to get it inboard, and then the actual inboard part where you can see the most dramatic flick up, that's all about getting the vortex as strong as you can towards the barge area. So they've changed that, and in tandem, they would have seen in the wind tunnel and their CFD analysis, in tandem with the nose cone, they'll be looking to make a big step up. That was maybe where they were lacking a lot of bit of, understeer in the car. We saw a few times the car was, fairly unstable at times at high-speed circuits at Alfa Romeo car. They definitely did lose, unfortunately, quite a fair amount of downforce and pace in general compared to their competitors. They used to be kind of in the thick of it, in the midfield fight in 2019, and then they really didn't, dropped off in 2020. So they've changed that a lot, quite dramatically, to try and gain those boosts, and obviously they're going to have to see how it goes in testing. Like I said, the entire nose structure itself has got thinner, because you can see it's kind of gone along the same lines of Mercedes or Red Bull, where the actual chassis is actually wider, and then it comes in and narrows down to the actual nose cone. Again, that is mostly just kind of in terms of getting a bit more streamlined, have more space either side, and then also the way that they've actually inbuilt the suspension arms. It looks like they've maybe changed the way it actually goes into the actual chassis itself, and with that, they've actually changed the brake ducts as well. A subtle change. It's still the same sort of shape where it's an upside down L, but they've made it a bit more aggressive, maybe copied other teams to kind of get a bit more air in there, and also do a bit more aerodynamically perhaps with the actual housing of the entire brake duct, but that's also entirely different to what they had last season. So that's where they've spent all their tokens, or most of their tokens, it would seem. Obviously, we don't know. There's going to be little bits in here and there that they may change elsewhere, but obviously those changes will be kind of aerodynamics wise, and that's free reign. You're allowed to do that once they get to preseason testing, as is always the case with every team. They're going to have new bits on the car. Alfa Romeo have actually been known for the last 2 years. They love to bring a lot of bits to preseason that aren't just on the launch car pictures. So I imagine you'll see a lot of bits on the Alfa Romeo that are going to be tested. In previous years, they brought those kind of nostril fins on the top of the chassis that they didn't have at launch, and they've changed the configuration of little fins on the side of the chassis, on the kind of either side of where the driver sits on that chassis side. So Alfa Romeo have been known to experiment quite a fair bit with the aero bits in preseason. Maybe it's a kind of case of they're also experimenting that much because they don't really know quite what's going to work with their car. It still seems to me, ever since 2019, they're still kind of trying to get their head wrapped around what is the best way to go with their car, in terms of they've sometimes brought upgrades, I remember like in 2019 especially, and then roll them back because they didn't quite understand the best way to go about it. But this looks quite promising, especially with that thinner nose. It looks like a very complex nose structure at the front. They've been very ambitious with it compared to maybe what they were with last year, where it was very much a carryover from what they had in 2019. So I'm actually quietly confident that they could make a little bit of a step up. Obviously, they had quite a lot, if we're being honest, to catch up for 2020, so it remains to be seen if it's going to be enough for them. But obviously, I think it's looking aggressive, and generally, if it looks aggressive and it looks like they've done a lot of work, they probably have also done a lot of homework and a lot of background work. So yeah, I'm quietly confident they can actually make a step forward, and it will be hopefully a bit more positive for Giovinazzi and Raikkonen, and we can maybe see them actually racing, because we did see them in flashes, the Portuguese Grand Prix, for example. Raikkonen, showing that he's still got it when he wants to actually turn up, and the car's there for him. So hopefully this kind of car and these improvements can hopefully help him and Giovinazzi show a bit more what they got maybe in 2021. Yeah, like I said, aesthetically, getting back to the car, yeah, let me know what you guys think. But for me, yeah, so far, the best livery on the grid. So beautiful from every angle. And honestly, yeah, there's going to have to be, the Aston Martin might have a very, very good livery. Alpine as well. They're going to have to be good, because so far, this is, yeah, like I said, a 30 banger. Really, really nice. Didn't expect it. Really didn't. There was a little leak over the weekend about the side pod being more red, but I didn't, you didn't really tell how much red it was going to get, how, what the kind of lines were going to be. But yeah, Alfa Romeo, obviously I used to kind of be affiliated with them, with their esports team back in the day, like, a year or so ago or more. Yeah, to my old team, they've done an absolute sterling job. It looks like a really, really nice car. I'm really excited to see how it looks on track as well, with the sun and everything like that. The cars generally look better when they got on track versus studio shots, but in the studio shots, this car, yeah, looks mental already. So let me know what you guys make of it, and let me know if you're excited about those actual car changes as well. Do you reckon Alfa Romeo can actually make enough of a step to maybe be in the midfield fight once again this year, or do you reckon it's a little bit too far still to jump in 1 year, and maybe 2022 is the massive one? Maybe this year is like more of another learning process for them to try and understand the car, understand maybe bits for next year as well, if they try and test some things later on this season, perhaps. I don't know. Let me know what you guys make of it. If you did enjoy the video and found it somewhat informative, then be sure to smash the like button. As I said, if you're on around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.